recording just a little bit.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity.
What's going on, everyone? This is Matt Squeaky Clean Air. I'm actually working on my trunk setup right now, and I want to share with you guys a really cool trick, especially when you're working with the seamless tanks. And we all know working with seamless tanks can be a little bit cumbersome and stuff like that. You might not always be able to sort of trace out the actual holder how you want it inside the board that you're working on. So you might have a hard time doing it, especially because it's really hard to align these later. And then you kind of have to get the mounts correctly on, you know what I mean? And it's really sort of really hard to kind of take your marker like this, and it's kind of hard to kind of feed it through over here and kind of like mark where you're going to be, when you have to drill the holes and where it's supposed to be. You can create the outline around here and sort of kind of put the mount on the ground and have try to sort of guess it and figure out how you're going to do it. Well, the simplest thing that I found to do over the years, especially when you're working with complicated tanks and mounts and anything like that, is basically clone it. And what I mean by that is right underneath here is a screw. So not screw, again, pardon my French. It's a nut that's under here. The nut has an inner diameter which is similar to whatever the mount hole is that you're trying to sort of trace out in order to have it on the actual board. What you're going to do is you're going to kind of align it as best as you can so the inner diameter is equal to sort of in the same position where you want the opening of the hole to be of your mount. And you're going to do that for all four. So you're literally going to take a pick and you're sort of just going to align it. And I think you guys can already figure out what I'm going to do. You're going to do that all around for all the mounts on this side as well, just to make sure that the inner diameter of that aligns with where the opening is of your actual mount, which is over here. I guess you could, let me bring it out. Okay. And you're going to make sure that they're aligned as best as possible. And then what you're going to do is you're literally going to remove the tank without obviously trying to remove the nuts underneath. So you're going to gently lift it up. Bang. Now it'll give you a better idea and a lot easier way Now, of course, be careful not to move the nut like I just did a second ago, but you get the general idea of the general vicinity where you're going to mark the hole. So you essentially cloned it. You cloned it by basically allowing yourself to have a nice separation. You can always, you know what they say, measure twice, cut once, right? So you can always take the tank and you can always align it back up, make sure that the lower mounts over here are aligning with wherever the clone sort of nuts are. But it'll give you a little bit of a more accurate rendition of when you're going to have to drill the holes for the actual mounts. And I would say 9 out of 10 times you're going to get it perfect. And 9 out of 10 times you won't have to remove anything from the actual seamless tank, such as the mount itself over here. You know what I mean? You can kind of keep it as it is. Now, another thing with the seamless, and then get your stuff done. Another thing that I found with the seamless tanks is I love to have my drain ports on these tanks on the bottom. The problem is if you put in, say, for example, an airlift fitting, luck for the better word, they're actually SMC fittings that airlift resells for a higher price. But if you use the SMC fitting over here, the problem is that it's a little bit too high for the actual mounts of the tanks. So I kind of came up with the idea of sort of the clone, because I'm actually going to use these as spacers, and I'm going to use these as spacers to elevate the tank, and then I'm going to put a bolt or nut, sorry, a bolt through here, obviously the right length, and I'm going to attach the nut on top of the nut through. But these nuts will actually function as spacers in order to elevate these mounts, in order to give me clearance for the drain ports, because I want to have the drain ports all the way on the bottom, because if there's any fluid that will deposit on there, I want it to burst out and drain out as soon as I open up the drain port valve, in order for it to flow out of the tank. I don't want to have any guessing, and I don't want it to be at an angle, and I don't want this to move around. So I'm going to actually use these as my spacers. So also a great idea to use these as your clones, in order to clone where you're actually going to be tracing out, and you're going to be actually putting out the actual mounting bolts, not bolts, but holes for the actual tank mounts. And of course, I also did an angle here, because I'm going to have these angled. So I'm going to measure this angle over here, and I'm going to create another similar angle to make sure that they're all angled equidistant. So use a protractor for that, and that way I won't, they won't look off once I install them. But it's a great way to use these nuts in order to sort of clone where your positioning is going to be, and you're going to get a more accurate hole and a more accurate mount. So just wanted to share this tip with you guys when you're working with seamless tanks, or any kind of tanks, or any mounts for that matter. And hopefully this helps you guys out. Peace out.